long story, but always been passionate about land, always hunted and fished, always spent time in the outdoors, and never really thought, probably like most people, never really thought you could make your passion a career or make money out of it. Went to college, got a degree in accounting and finance. You know, be 52 this year. That hard work does pay off. It just sometimes takes a little longer than what we envision, or the 2 or 3 year plan ends up being 5 to 10. So once you figure out what you want, it's hard to put in the hours if you're not passionate about it. And if you are passionate about it, it's just a pastime. You know what I mean? It's just what I do. It's who I am. So that really helps to bring a good quality product to the table. It's what you are.
All right, so today we are with Jason Williams, the owner and broker of Buckeye Land Sales. We're just going to talk to him and ask him some questions, get to know him a little bit better, and kind of the reason for starting the company and what all he's done to grow the company over the years. So it's nice to see you again as always.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yep. So I was just wanting to ask you a few questions. One, I was going to start off with, what was your reason for starting Buckeye Land Sales?
I don't know. I want to say long story short, but it seems like there's always a long story. But always been passionate about land, always hunted and fished, always spent time in the outdoors, and never really thought, probably like most people, never really thought you could make your passion a career or make money out of it. Went to college, got a degree in accounting and finance. Didn't really fit me a cup of tea, but really me. I like the money aspect of it, and learning about money and how money works, federal funds rate and all that stuff, and has obviously parlayed well into real estate, helping buyers and sellers, say buyers on how to finance and all that good stuff, or sellers what to do with their money when they do get it. If they don't want to do a 1031 or invest it and stuff like that. And then mainly probably for Buckeye Land Sales, I wanted to always dabbled in real estate a little bit, bought and sold. Really not for the intention to sell. I'm a big hunter, big whitetail guy. So around here in Southeast Ohio, I always wanted my own 100-acre farm. Had a whitetail outfitting business for a little while. We can maybe get into that later, but I was trying to make money, in the outdoors and chase my passion, which is obviously really hard. But I bought and sold some properties. I bought a property, made it my own whitetail property, and put some food plots and trail systems and gates, kind of what we all do now to kind of improve a property that just comes second knowledge in probably the early 2000s, and would sell it to a buddy or something, and nothing really to make money. It's just, it would appreciate over 2 or 3 years, and then the work that I did to it made it worth it, and then next thing you know, I have $50,000 bill or $60,000 bill sitting there in equity, and I thought, well, I'll go from 20 acres to 40 acres. And it just kind of steamrolled from there. And then probably the opportunity to go work for Craig Kelly, who we started out at Realtree Properties, or bought a Realtree franchise back when it started. And he was looking to add a couple agents. I didn't know Craig from anyone, and had a mutual friend reach out to Craig. Craig hired me. Me and Craig got along so well, and then wanted to grow the business. Craig did not, and so made the opportunity to purchase from Craig, and then bought the broker out a year and a half, maybe a year later, and that's kind of how it led to. Never thought it'd get this big or would get to where we are, but humble beginnings.
Yeah. So as far as the growth goes, what do you think the biggest reason for the growth over the years has been? Because, obviously with your knowledge and background, that's helped you serve clients as an agent, because with your hunting background, you can kind of decipher the right property for someone pretty easily by getting an idea of what they're looking for. But what was the transition like from an agent to a broker? And now that you have, several agents under you full time, how are you able to make that transition and have the success that you have?
Well, starting out, it was Well, to answer your first question, what makes us different, or that's pretty easy, or what makes us successful. Obviously, some of the littler stuff, hard work, but the number one is that's who we are. We're not traditional mom and pa or traditional city agent. Obviously, not making fun of them, but same as if we tried to show a house in downtown Columbus or a suburb of Pickerington or Upper Arlington, we wouldn't really know what we're doing. And we're all born and raised here. Your background, obviously, with timber, I'll call you and get your advice on white oak and veneer white oak and all that stuff. So it's kind of what we do, born and raised here, and also with, our education background, finance and accounting. It's a great combination. So, and this is what we do. We're passionate about what we do and all that good stuff. How did we grow? The first couple of years, it was just me, Craig, and one other agent. Craig had 2 agents, me and one other guy. And so the first couple of years was kind of like anything, lean. I didn't know, I liked it because I was making money as an agent. And I went part-time in my accounting job there, probably about 5 or 6 years before this. So I had some free time to put into it. But the first 3 or 4 years, I was kind of relying on Craig relied on him a lot for his guidance and counsel. I had to be an agent. I had to be a list agent. I had to be a buyer's agent. And I was all over the place and lived out on my truck. I would leave on a Monday morning with my cooler and my food for the week. I'd come back in the evenings, ain't like I stayed all night somewhere, but I was on the road and I hustled and I had a bunch of motivation. Craig seen it, and then it kind of, when I bought it off Craig, I worked for Craig for maybe a year. It was even more motivation when I had the brokerage, but then I wasn't my broker, so there was just constant more things to achieve. And so the first 4 or 5 years was a blur, but now the difference between an agent and a broker, now it's more, like yesterday I met with Gary up at Zanesville, Bob Evans. It was an hour and a half drive for me, hour drive south from here, where a lot of our agents are spread out. And talking on the phone's nice, but as a broker now, kind of my mindset's completely changed. It's more about, counsel, asking, like Spencer, I'll ask him sometimes, who deals with a lot of our buyers, what are you seeing, what kind of trends are there, to try to get out in front of buyers, trends and stuff like that, and then obviously giving advice to my agents. So the broker piece of it is totally different, where you're just kind of being like an older attorney and more of counsel to give advice to your agents and be there. New ones obviously need a lot more of your time. The older ones don't, but even like Holly or someone or you, there's always questions. There's always like, hey, I just want to make sure I don't get ourselves in a pickle and stuff like that. So the broker's more, and then probably the way, I know we didn't get to this, but probably one of the things that I do, everyone thinks they do stuff different, but obviously I back it up. I hate to steal leads from my agents. So all you guys know, I don't represent, very rarely will you see me represent, if in my hometown, MacArthur, yes, Vince County, but very rarely will you see me represent a seller, very rarely will you see me represent a buyer, where most brokers nowadays, I don't say I hate to say it, but it's obvious. You can see whether it's other land brokerages or other traditional mom and pop brokerages. The broker is an actual broker agent, and I already taken a small cut off all you guys anyway, and I feel guilty once I transitioned into the broker, and the brokerage got up to where it was making good money without me trying to double dip. So that's one thing I hope my agents, and I'm sure that, we talk about it a lot, but where I don't steal leads, I don't still hire in clients, $1 million clients. I pass them off for $1 million listings, and one of Craig's largest accounts came from me after 2 or 3 interviews with me, and I gave it to Craig. So I think that's, everyone tries to think, how are you different? What are you doing different? What makes you successful that you're doing different? Well, that's one of the things I try to do that. Obviously I pay well, but my agents know that and can see what the competition brokers are doing, that how they're stealing leads and representing buyers and sellers, and that's something I don't do, and I kind of just want to make my money off the little broker piece and not try to double dip off my agents.
Which I obviously worked with another company for a little bit before you, and before I went to work for you, I talked to other companies, and I mean, I can tell you firsthand that there's definitely never been a better option. And the way you operate too, with how you only hire a certain amount of agents in certain areas to make sure that people under you are doing well, is incredible, because that is hard to find, because you don't steal leads, but then you've also even called me before, whenever you've had people inquiring about hiring people on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, just that respect is great. And I'm sure, learning from Craig helped a lot with you kind of understand that side of things, the business side of things, but then also your background with your degrees for counting and everything, I'm sure has all played a big factor in it. But whenever you're getting started, because obviously every small business owner, this kind of stuff happens, but getting started whenever the company wasn't making as much as it is now, for example, how hard was that to push through and keep going? I know it's something you love, so that probably made it a lot easier. But getting through that process where 99% of people would just quit and give up, what was it that was able to keep you pushing to get through to get the company to where it is today?
Well, I was a little older, and when I was younger, some of the times when, like, I had a gas station at one time, went through the '08 depression, and then I had a Whitetail outfitting business. So I've had some small businesses, but I was a little older this time, so hopefully I was a little bit more well-versed and more in a better financial position to weather the storm, so to speak.
Yeah.
And, I got lucky. My personal overhead was low, and my wife had a decent job, so I didn't really have to worry about making a bunch of money those first 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's always good when you don't have to worry about putting a bunch of food on the table. But it's been good, and that's one thing, like you said earlier, about try not to hire agents. Well, that's how we grow as a company, that's how I make more money. We hire more agents. But even you guys, like Ollie, we had a talk a couple years ago, and Ollie, it's always like, how do we grow and all that stuff. And he was maybe a little hesitant, but the first couple of years we got some more agents in his area, and he deserved it too, because he worked hard that year and has worked hard. But he had the best year he ever had.
Yeah.
So we grow organically, and sometimes, like I always tell all you guys, what Ollie's doing helps Tyler, even though they're on two sides of the state. And what Tyler's doing helps us and helps Ollie and helps Josh down in Gallia County, because we start seeing all our listings and our logo and our brand awareness, and all that stuff just starts growing organically. And that's the stuff that you kind of got to be, open. And just like when you get so busy, I promised I'd get you a couple of buyer's agents, so you have more of so you can still make obviously good money, but still have a little bit of a life too, to see your kids and your 2 young kids, or go to ball games or coach them, and still, put good money in your pocket.
Some whitetail hunting, maybe, you think that might be good? Or
Sure.
Okay. So for your outfitting business, how has that sort of thing and your background with whitetail hunting, how has all that affected, your real estate company?
It was a perfect transition. Like my whitetail outfitting business, took hunters and had bed and breakfast, more or less, to speak. If you guys don't know what an outfitting business is, but a lot of our guys now, I'd say a third of our buyers are actually whitetail hunters.
Yeah, definitely, if not more.
Yeah, there's not as many as what I thought when I got in it, but at least say a third, 40% of whitetail hunters. So that's an easy transition when you can talk rubs and scrapes, and where deer like to transition, or bedding areas, and cutting timber to get a little bit of your money back from the down payment or the investment, and then also creating habitat for deer or other wildlife. So. And your hard mass trees, like your white oak and stuff, how the deer really prefer that primarily over pretty much anything in the fall if you get a good white oak mass. So that stuff was simple. That stuff was really easy, being a whitetail hunter in an outfitting business. And then I guess my finance background helped too. So all of it, the whole ball of wax made it. I mean, looking back on it now, like when my one daughter is studying to get a real estate license, not that I think she's going to do it full time, but she was like, and her degree that she's have right now has already passed like 3 state boards. And it was biological and chemistry stuff, and I'm like, oh my God. And she passed it first, and some of the girls, she passed all 3 of her boards first time over the course of like a year. She stuck them, and the girls she's graduated with, I think 2 or 3 years ago, some of them still haven't passed their boards. Well, she, on the real estate stuff, she's studying for it now, and she's like, Dad, this is a lot harder than what you said it was. But you got to understand, this is our cup of tea. And it's, I grew up with it when they talk about appraisals or deed descriptions, or, you know, credit on the HUD for on the taxes, or how they prorate. That's all. But someone from her background, you know, it's kind of new to her. So, yeah, to answer your question at all, the outfitting business, born and raised here, being in the woods. A lot of my buddies went to timber's a big thing around here, so a lot of my buddies went to buying logs or buying timber, or even grading lumber on the sawmill, where I worked at sawmills during college a little bit, and see what a, you know, 2 common white oak is, or some of the bourbon barrel staves off the white oak is always, you know, been good in Southeast Ohio.
So I know you talked about your daughter a little bit there. Obviously, I know how important family is to you. And you talked about how back when you first started, you know, you were working constantly because, you know, obviously I'm sort of in the position where, you know, that's kind of how I'm doing. And I know for me, you know, my family means a lot to me. And I know that one day I won't have to get there or have to be where I obviously know family is very important to you. So what does it mean to you to be able to have, you know, something like you've built as a legacy to leave behind to them, to where if they want to, and it sounds like they're interested in doing so, you know, taking over and helping with the business?
Yeah, I mean, obviously near and dear to my heart if they want to do it. You know, we talk a lot about, you know, I'll go over me, my youngest one at OU and stuff like that. And, you know, if they want it, that's the biggest thing we talk about. The key to life is do you. And I kind of always quiz it. So if that's what they want to do. Now, both of them, I don't think they're passionate about being in the woods, even though my youngest one hunts a lot, but who knows, you know, but they might be able to help more on the admin side and stuff like that. Obviously the computer work, I'm still doing a lot and it's hard, but yeah, it feels good to be able to pass something on, or at least give them the option. And then, you know, maybe on the land holding side, you know, I still hold some land holdings here in Southeast Ohio. So that also makes you feel good too, after years of, was it worth it? Or I still, you know, the long hours, like you're talking about when your kids are young, and a lot of times you didn't know if you was getting anywhere, or you'd make anything, or it would lead to somewhere. To see now that it has led, you know, decent, that, you know, be 52 this year, that hard work does pay off. It just sometimes takes a little longer than what we envision, or, you know, the 2 or 3 year plan ends up being 5 to 10. So, but I think there is light at the end of the tunnel. If all you guys are out there and you guys are struggling or whatever it is, it's just a lot of times it's probably longer down the road than what you're thinking.
You go on all these big hunts, you know, out of state, out of country, all that kind of stuff. How has that helped with your networking for the business? Because I know a lot of people don't really, you know, see, since you're not necessarily an agent anymore, you're not really out there quite as much, because you're not marketing yourself, you're more so marketing the brokerage and your agents as opposed to yourself. But how has all of that stuff kind of helped with your networking, and also maybe even your understanding of all these different types of avenues of business? Because I'm sure by doing all this stuff, you have met a lot of people who have done a lot of different incredible things throughout their lives. So what kind of, I guess, things have you learned from all those experiences that might help with this?
I mean, a lot that probably be long-winded to talk about, but I try to be brief. But I live in a 1 red light county still today. Never left MacArthur, Benton counties. Still today a 1 red light county. So born in 74, so a lot of times your experiences are limited to your upbringing, or you know, where you were born and raised. So some of the hunts like Alaska or New Zealand, or, you know, went to Mexico a couple times, obviously different culture down there. So the Teddy Roosevelt quote of 9/10 of wisdom is like years. So that always helps. It gives you more perspective. But a lot of times you meet different cultures, different people. They always have a different way of seeing life and seeing, what really matters the most. Mm-hmm. And then some of the people too on some of the trips that, have done well financially, or, how they've made it. Seems like there's always multiple ways to, make money or be successful in business. So it's always been good to get out, and especially here lately, get out and explore and meet different people from different backgrounds and all that stuff. They're always going to learn something on how to apply it, either to your business or your little one red light narrowed mindset that you are kind of stuck in because you've been born and raised in this one red light county. So that's always good to get a chance to get out.
You kind of spoke about this a little bit earlier about how you never steal leads from any of your agents and how you're here to help your agents first and foremost. So as a broker, in my opinion, that's the most important thing, because that means you care about the people working for you, but it also means you care about your clients first and foremost too, because if you treat the people working for you like that, obviously you're going to have the same respect for your clients. So how important has that been for your business, making sure you've always put everyone else ahead of your own needs?
Well, I think it's great for employee retention. We'll get to that maybe in a second, but clients and stuff like that too. A lot of times, like the property, if someone called, it just makes obvious sense. If it's Tyler's listing or Spencer's listing or Ollie or Josh, they walked it. They did the pictures.
Yeah.
They know where the bedding areas is. They know where to, stay away from, or, the bad spots, the good spots, where you can build. And someone like me, even as much as I know, or even like if I gave a lead to Spencer off one of your listings, well, Spencer's never been there. And most traditional agents will call and ask about they don't know nothing about it, and they've got clients, or they'll have clients that they're representing that, one, they're not even really a land agent, and two, some of the other brokerages that are land agents have never even walked the property, don't know nothing about it besides looking at a map. So with us, obviously, leads try to go directly to the list agent. They're the ones that worked hard and got it. And then some of the list agents are so busy, which is growing organically, where I'm hopefully doing the right thing, and they see I'm not hoarding leads. It leads to like a Josh or Ollie or you. They're like, I'm not hoarding leads, that I'm so busy because I'm dealing with, higher end, say $400,000 or $500,000 listings and stuff like that. There's some of the stuff where they want a life that they push off to buyers agents or people that are maybe not as busy as them. And so that's the whole growth organically. I think, I started it, me and Craig started it with not stealing leads, and Craig's still an agent, but he's slowed down tremendously. But where I'm doing the right thing and not stealing leads and not trying to double dip, it helps with Josh and Ollie and you and some of my rock star, my better agents, that they needed some free time, and they're concentrating on, being out ahead of it and, focusing on listings and stuff like that we need as a company, versus trying to be narrow-minded and represent buyers and sellers. So it's just rolled downhill. The goodwill of me being hopefully, doing the right thing is just rolled down where, sometimes you'll get leads to Hunter or Spencer, and it helps them, and it helps the brokerage grow. It helps me bring new guys on. And real estate's one of the hardest businesses to get started. It seems like everyone's got real estate. And a lot of times they might do 2 transactions a year. So it's helped to get our new agents, up and going. So it's been good both ways. It helps the list agent, helps our new agents.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned a little bit there too about how, some people don't walk a property where they list it. And you do see this every now and then, because it'd be like us, like you had mentioned, listing a house like in downtown Columbus. So whenever you're looking to hire a guy, what kind of gives you the idea that they would be good at doing this? Because if it's someone who's used to the city, not really used to being outdoors, and you're like, well, how do you hunt? Do you fish? Are you outdoors? Do you go anything like that? I mean, what kind of background do you think is important for people getting started? Like if you had someone call you wanting to join the company tomorrow, and you had to learn a little bit about what they do and their, I guess, interest in life.
I think a lot of it, man, you definitely don't have to be a hunter, but you're not necessarily a hunter, but you love the outdoors, you're always out there, of all my agents, the most about timber value, which is obviously your background and stuff like that, but being an outdoorsman or outdoorswoman, liking just being outside obviously always helps, but the background is all over the place. I've seen older people that have been in the factory do well. I've seen younger people. It seems like, the 24 to 25, they've got just enough, out of high school wisdom and work ethic. They've worked some jobs that they can do well too. So it's just, there's really no ideal agent mold. And sometimes the first person I ever hired, I thought, nailed it. I thought this is the gold, and if anything, if there's anyone that could have been an agent, it would have been this person, and it still could. It didn't really fit what they were wanting to do. They just didn't translate well, and but they had all the keys to make it. And so sometimes you think you hit a home run, and you don't really. So there's no really ideal profession or something like that. I'd say maybe an outdoorsman with great work ethic, and they've kind of got to be okay with going with some periods of time maybe without a paycheck, because it's commission and you don't get it every Friday paycheck. Now you might get a $30,000 paycheck one day and think I'm gonna buy a McLaren, but it doesn't happen very often.
Real estate in general, land sales, what kind of trends do you think are going to happen? Because I know a lot of people anymore, for the past 5 years, they've been going, these land prices, they can't keep going the way they are. What's your opinion and your insight on that?
Well, obviously I'm biased because I'm in this arena, but I'm not going to be bullish, I think, with my outlook or what I see. Obviously a great place to park, especially if you get a cabin and stuff like that. You can get some depreciation, cost seg, bonus depreciation, what Trump brought back. So I always like to, tell my clients a lot of times too that, they preach diversify from my finance background for their portfolio. And it seems like a lot of city guys that come out are starting to realize that, that they have they can't really, what I'll say, enjoy their 401k, where they can go hunt, camp, fish, take their dollars. I took my daughter's four-wheeler riding on mine. I rolled my property or my traditional retirement into self-directed IRA and bought real estate with it. So it's nice when you get someone from the city that comes out that's kind of out of their mold, and they realize there's other ways to invest your money than just the stock market or 401k. So those are really good clients to work with, especially because they're intelligent too. They just they've been born and raised in the city, and they don't know that what timber value and stuff like that does. So as far as outlook goes, it seems like there's always. I mean, I remember talking to another agent when COVID hit, thinking, hate to say it, I thought, man, real estate prices are gonna go down. Now we look at, I didn't throw my dart and say real estate prices are going down. I asked him, man, do you see real estate prices going down? Because it was on the radar. Now we look at it and we go, well, but back then, no one knew kind of the ins and outs of COVID and all that stuff. But going forward right now, May of 2026 with the, Iran stuff that's going on with Trump, who knows? We got a lot of stress on the Federal Reserve right now with monetary policy and all that stuff. So again, I'm biased. It's always nice to park money in land and kind of weather the storm a little bit and stay out of the volatile, up and down of stocks and stuff like that. So I could see it holding tight. Market really slows down, I can see it be a good spot. Market picks up, I can see it be a good spot. So I'll be honest, I might be a little biased because it's our background, but it's always a good place to park money or invest money is land.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look back whenever prices did drop, I mean, if you bought a couple years before, like you said, whenever the market crashed in 2000, which I was obviously 8, so I have hardly any memory of what was going on then. But if you would have bought land in say 2006 before that, in 2016, it still would have been worth way more than it was in 2006 just by holding on to it. And I mean, I'm sure that that 10-year gap probably appreciated more than what something in, say, the stock market even would have appreciated probably. If I had to guess, I mean, like I said, I don't know, you would know better than I do.
But you can always pick individual stocks that's maybe outperformed.
Yeah.
And that's a, hand, but the most, if you look at anything like it, is the index and S&P 500 index fund. Land traditionally beats that. So, and that's probably one of the best investments to kind of hedge against the up and down of the stock market, and is that index fund. So land traditionally beats that too. So it's just a different way to look at investing and stuff like that too. But traditionally, it's always been, a really good safe bet.
Yeah. So another thing I was kind of going to point out and see if you might be able to explain a little bit better, because obviously the marketing that we do as a company, you're very aggressive with the marketing. It goes way above and beyond what any other brokerage brings it to the table, in my opinion, because that was a big reason why I joined Buckeye Land Sales, was because of that. So a lot of people out there, a lot of real estate agents get bad names because they're like, oh, you just throw something on the MLS, call it a day, and you get a big paycheck, and they don't see what goes behind the scenes. So saying that, could you elaborate a little bit on what all exactly does go on behind the scenes, so people can kind of have an understanding of what we put into it and how important loving your job is because the time that goes into it, and how important having like almost like a servant's mentality to your clients to make sure that they're getting the best deals whenever they buy something, or if you're working for a seller, that they're getting the best that they can out of selling it, and to make sure that all transactions go smoothly and the client has absolutely the least amount to do as possible, so you can take as much off their plate as you can.
Yeah, I think, and again, everyone thinks they're doing something different or something special. Obviously, we have to be doing a little bit, or we wouldn't have grabbed as much market share we had since we've been in business. But you mentioned something about being passionate about your job and all that good stuff. There's one of my good buddies, Jason Prater, has a gym in Chillicothe. I don't say we talk about, but we mention it all the times, over coffee or whatever. We're talking about, competition, or someone starting another gym or another brokerage, and by all means, good. We're not saying that's a bad thing, but if someone is not, like, he'll get up at 3:30 in the morning and be at the gym by 4, and his first workout class is at 4:30. Every day. Take Christmas, and it's like, I'm passionate, I work hard, you work hard. I couldn't compete with him. I'm not gonna, a couple of weeks of that, I'm not getting up at 4:30 because that's not my cup of tea. So a lot of times too, if that's what you, like, it's back to what I told my daughters, the key to life is do you. It's hard to figure out what that is when you're a young person going to college or out of college, and a lot of the girls and guys struggle with that. But once you figure out what you want, it's hard to put in the hours if you're not passionate about it. And if you are passionate about it, it's just a pastime, you know what I mean? It's just what I do, it's who I am. So that really helps to bring a good quality product to the table. It's what you are and what you do. Especially now being 51, I can do whatever I wanted, and I'm still doing this. So that helps. And then a lot of the marketing you ask about too, we're not just on Realtor and Zillow. That's the most obvious thing. And, the videos that we do, the drone footage and all that good stuff that helps sets a listing apart, especially the drone footage. If that's, we got one guy in our company that does it. Couple guy does it, but one guy will go and help some of the other agents. I think he only charges like $250. For 250.
You can't.
Which that's obviously a discount because he's a nice guy and all that good stuff. But a drone, if you're going to look at a 40-acre parcel or anything to see, is see it from the air, from a bird's eye view. A little 60-second video and all that good stuff with the agent's name and number at the end of it. Not mine. Not Call Broker, not Jason Williams Outdoor Properties. It always helps to, let the potential buyer see the land. And I had a seller, a couple years ago, that's all he wanted. we got it on the market, and I was waiting on Ollie. Imagine that. But I was waiting on Ollie to do the video, and that seller was adamant. I said, no, that's what we do. I showed him that, this was back obviously when I was still being an agent, and I said, it's what we do. It'll be on everything, and put it on the market. I was waiting on Ollie, and I said, it'll be there. I'm just going to go ahead and get it out on the market. And he wanted me to, when it got on the market, and he loved that video.
Yeah.
So that tells you that at least the sellers out there looking at some of our other listings, at a Spencer, at a Ollie, at a Josh, or yours, and seeing what Buckeye Land Sales does. And so, yeah, we ended up Ollie ended up coming through. We got his video for him, but it does help some of the marketing.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, the other thing too, because obviously we cater to out-of-state buyers. You'd be surprised how many times out-of-state buyers, they're busy and they don't have time to make the trip. And they'll look at those videos, and if those videos tell them, they'll buy something without even going to look at them.
And that's the thing. If they got a good land agent. So, yeah, I seen where you was going with it. But, yeah, if they end up calling and end up talking and realize, oh, this guy's got stuff together, you've spent some time on the phone, we'll go look at properties for him. This isn't what you want, it's too steep, you're looking for more food plots down, or some water, whatever it is. And the more of the time you end up speaking with him, the buyer ends up realizing this guy knows what he's doing, he's the same as me, or whatever. And if there is some drone footage, that sometimes they can just buy without even, stepping foot on the bar, and just trusting the judgment of their land agent that they've got to know and spend time with over the phone, that, that they know they know what's going on.